Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Silver Linings. I'm Adam. Across from me is Rex. I'm in Arizona. He's in Utah. When I say across, I'm just talking about on the computer. We're ready for another podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting our podcast. We did talk about a new Facebook group that has emerged the last podcast. And this group on Facebook has been going strong. I think we're almost at 400 members. And it started with really Kimberly, who started it. And then I joined, and there was two of us for a long time. Or at least for, when I say a long time, at least for 3 or 4 days until we talked about it on the podcast. But as I'm reading the comments and, getting to know people on our Facebook group, everybody has each other's backs and becoming friends, and this is another safe place to be for just talking and healing and just having a good time on Facebook. And you get to see a picture of Rex in his pilot outfit for Halloween that got posted. I saw that. So if you want to join, if you watch our podcast and you like our podcast, and you're part of our Optimist, you're somebody who enjoys our podcast, by all means, go to Facebook and join in our Facebook group.
Very good. And there are a couple really exciting things, Adam. We can't pass by the fact that our book is released today. But before head into that, let me just point out that situation. I'm sorry, I don't have their names at the top of my head, but the situation with the 16-year-old that was in effect kidnapped from Arizona, and they found him, and it had a happy resolution. That's a silver lining right there. We aren't trying to take credit because that's the name of our podcast. Don't get me wrong, but that's a silver lining of this whole tragedy of Tylee and JJ being killed, because public awareness is so much more a factor in a situation like this. People right away recognize all the similarities. Good grief, more Mormons, more doomsday, Arizona, Idaho. And so I'm sure that weighed in on the judge, on law enforcement reacting as well as they did. That's a silver lining for this tragedy.
I totally agree. Because of what we went through, where we didn't get probably the proper investigations and things like that. Because of that, now the cases that are anything similar or even sound similar will be totally investigated and vetted.
Yeah. So great resolution. We're so grateful. I think we all are, but just wanted to point out a tremendous silver lining.
Yes. So let's go back to what he said. Our book came out. I know a couple people made comments. Congratulations, Adam and Rex, for actually making the deadline, which I got to be honest, I don't know how much deadline we made. There's probably still some more requests for things for us to write. But
that ain't going to happen.
It's just, I tried to do the best that I could. I think Rex did too. And Jane and her publishing company did a fantastic job of putting the book together. Unfortunately, somebody got some early copies that were dud copies. And that happens in the book business. My first book that came out, I published it myself, and I went through Amazon. And so there's some things that happen with Kindle and Amazon, and as Rex and I are going to talk about our audiobook that's going to come out. So with all those things going on, there are things that happen in that business where we're going to have to be, patient with, some of these things. It's not it's not the publishers, it's not Jane or the publisher's fault. It's not Rex and I's fault. It's just the part of the business of the book business, which we're not really, huge book business people. So we're learning as we grow.
In other words, we don't know the name of the people to blame for this.
Well, there's that too.
Well, but we just appreciate you all being patient. We had those copies. We had to have those copies made early to have the cover to do some publicity. And I guess there were some laying around, and someone somewhere decided, let's ship these out as people order. And
without looking inside and knowing that it's just gibberish and just there's nothing in the thing just for a cover. So the book is done. I know some people have already ordered it and are reading it on Kindle. The few people made comments last night on our Facebook group page, and they actually were talking about things that they were reading. One woman mentioned that she had read the first 2 or 3 chapters, and she just says, "I just got to keep reading." Where somebody else was like, "I want to start it. I got my copy too, but I'm dead tired. I'm going to bed. I'm not going to read it till tomorrow." So. I guess everybody has a different view of how they're going to read the book or when they're going to read the book, if you even wanted to read the book. But with that being said, some of you have already purchased the book, and some of you haven't purchased the book because some of you may not have the money to buy a book.
So this gives us a chance to give you a little glimpse, and it's just that about the foundation that Adam and I referenced early on in our podcasting. We said, if we do make money doing the podcasting, and that's still true, the day when we do actually make money,
if that ever happens,
the money's going to a foundation that we're associated with. I helped found it. I'm not in the leadership of the foundation, but it's going to be doing a lot of some of my professional work, and the money's going there. I love the concept. The way the foundation prices items, the way they price it, it comes from a song title. I don't know if that was the thinking, but back in the 60s, there's a song by Buffalo Springfield, "For What It's Worth." For people that don't have money, if you know anyone or if you are in the situation where you say, I don't have money for books, let us know. The foundation will provide the book to people, and the foundation will pay for it. Or if they say, "Hey, I can pay $5 for it, I can pay $10 for it," the foundation will pay the rest. In other words, they will accept whatever you feel it's worth, meaning based on your circumstances, your dollars available, and what you can contribute towards the book. Now, some people are very generous. And of course, some people are going to say, "Hey, I can pay twice what it costs. It costs $16. Here's $32. I'm going
to buy somebody else's book that
paying it forward."
Yeah.
Right. And there is that. But we don't want anyone to go without reading it or without giving it to someone, gifting it, because they don't have the money. So the foundation's going to cover that. Much more on the foundation at another more appropriate time, but just wanted to let you know that that's available.
We're glad that you're enjoying reading the book, those of you who had started it, and thank you everybody for buying it. I know a lot of people want more answers and things. People have said this podcast has really answered a lot of questions for them that they've had in their head, because this was such a bizarre, unique, horrific case that Rex and I have been talking about on our podcast about our family, that some of you have, reached out and said, "Hey, I have some situations in my family. They're not exactly like yours, but they're similar, or there's something that's going on." And I think we're all making connections with this podcast, with our Facebook group, that we're all here to be able to be there for each other. And anybody who's lonely, I was talking on one podcast about how lonely I was for like 2 or 3 years, just super lonely. And I've never been lonely in my life. So I always felt bad for people who felt lonely until I felt it. Then I was like, oh my gosh. So if you feel lonely, this is a place for you. I don't want anybody to ever feel lonely again. And also people that have really struggles or have like things that they're working on with their family or whatever those are. Everybody is welcome in here, and you can make any comments you want. You can send us emails. We have a new email that you can send us. It's rexandadam@gmail.com. It's super easy. And you can tell us whatever you want to tell us, if you ever want to tell us anything. We're just saying we're here, and I think we're building this podcast group and the Optimist for each other. And Rex and I are just facilitating this, but it's you guys and everybody else who's involved with this podcast that is going on. So the book is available to read if you want more about that story. But Rex and I are moving. We have that story with us, but we're doing other things on the podcast and trying to promote healing and just a positive feedback.
And thanks to y'all, that's what's happening. There's a positive feedback. Everyone, it was amazing to me, and I think to Adam early on, when people reacted so quickly to tell their stories. And now more people are feeling comfortable. And some people said, I've never shared this with anyone. Now I feel safe here. That's what we want. It's not that you're getting therapy here. It's just a safe place to share. This isn't, what I'm about to say isn't our story to share, so I'm not going to share a story, but one of our optimists that y'all know and love, maybe we'll share her story sometime soon, but it's just recent. And it's so much like Adam's situation, your heart just goes out to her. But everyone has that. I was talking with one of my therapists. I'm so messed up, I go to 2 therapists.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait, which therapists are we talking about? See, I need to get at least 1. You already have 2.
Yeah, well, some of us are more messed up than others. And one I say, the other's just a dear friend. He's retired. He's 81 years old. While I'm in town, we get together a couple hours a week just to talk about life and stuff. But he had a 50-year career as a clinical psychologist, and he got into some specific areas. He did a lot of court work, and I've got a lot of information, a lot of inside information from him about that as we're going through the trial. But this morning I was meeting with him, and he said, Rex, everyone goes through it. The way he said it, I want to quote it. He said, and I don't know if he's quoting someone else, he is very well read. He's quoting stuff all the time from all over the world and all through history. But he didn't attribute this to someone else at the time. I'm thinking maybe it was an original, but he said, no one is spared, and we're all blessed. Now, no one's spared. When you're in the middle of it, you may not want to hear about and we're all blessed part of it.
Right.
That pain is so acute.
Fresh.
Yeah, fresh is the word I wanted. But we're all blessed, meaning there are silver linings. We do have people like this group. Some people don't have anyone in their personal life, but now you do. At least you have some people. Maybe you can't sit down for hours, but, a place to share things. And so we love what this community has become. I want to give a shout out. We give shout outs from time to time. One of our optimists, one of the originals is one of my spin instructors, one of my favorite spin instructors. I showed this before, but not everyone's seen it. She didn't see me show it, and she asked when I did. I said, I don't remember. I'll do it again, because not everyone saw it. But she gave me this early on. I'm holding it up, hopefully in a way you can see it.
Yeah, pull it back just a little bit. Okay, about right there. I can see that. Yeah, it's a cloud, silver lining cloud, right?
That's a silver lining cloud. It's a little silver charm that she bought, and it's called Silver Linings Charm.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
She's the person we got the idea from for the name of the podcast, because early on, I told her, hey, my nephew and I, Adam and I, are going to do a podcast. She saw my original first interview I did with Nate Eaton at the trial. I didn't know that till the other day when someone posted that on the Facebook page.
I saw that. Yeah.
Okay? And so I was looking through the comments to see if I recognized anyone's names, and her name was there. I said, my goodness, she has been around for a while. And she came up to spin shortly thereafter. I said, well, Adam and I are going to do a podcast. She said, we need that. We need silver linings from this. And that's how that's how the name originated. But anyway, she gave me that charm that I keep here on my desk. So shout out to Jill.
Yes, I love it. Okay. We're coming across, like, people on the Facebook group. Somebody made a comment that this woman, I think her name's Marcia, she used to work with Zach, my son, in Wichita for an insurance company. And I think I met her one time. Who knew that she was going to start watching our podcast and become part of our Facebook group, and then mention, hey, tell Zach, I hope he's doing good and healing and all that. I love it. I absolutely love our Facebook group, and we would love if you watch our podcast to join our Facebook group. I do want to talk about a few things that came up just, since we're doing a podcast. And these are comments that came off of our last podcast. Are we ready for that, Rex, or did you have one more thing before we start in?
Well, let's announce the live we're going to do this Saturday.
Yep.
Adam's coming to St. George. We're going to be together Friday and Saturday. We have tons of stuff to talk about. But we're going to be in the studio with Sean, and we're going to do a live while we're there. So we're also going to be recording the book for the audio version of the book to make that available to people. It'll be 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, before it actually gets out after we get the recording done. Who knows if we'll get it done this weekend, but we're hoping to.
Oh, no, I'm pushing forward. I'll get my part done. Rex, you got plenty of time to get your part done. You live there. You can go right to that studio anytime you want.
That's right. Just a few minutes away.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be doing that, and we'll have a live podcast to answer questions. That's the main purpose of the live. I know Adam and I forget that from time to time. We go off on some
tangents.
But the idea is to answer your questions. We're doing it earlier in the day for the people on the East Coast and the people in Europe. It'll be for most of them during the day. We're going to do it at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. This is the day before daylight savings, so it'll still be Mountain Daylight Time, but 1 o'clock Mountain Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific Time, is 3 o'clock Eastern Time. So
join 2 o'clock Central Time.
2 o'clock Central. So join us for the live.
That's this coming Saturday, November, whatever the date is, November something. November 4th. Okay. I do have a couple that I want to bring up comments. One came from Linda 560. She says, Adam, can we have a podcast to learn about your sister Stacy and honor her memory? Now, the last podcast, Rex and somebody asked if Lori was the dominant sibling.
Control in the family, yeah.
Yeah, and Rex had pointed out, actually, that was Stacy. She was the oldest. I would love to do a podcast, a 30-minute podcast, and talk about my oldest sister, Stacy, who passed away when she was 32, I believe. It was back in 1998 or 99 when she passed away. And she was the smartest person that I think I've ever met and the sweetest person I've ever met, even though she had her side of getting things done. But she was an incredible human being. And I cannot wait, if Rex agrees with this, that we can...
Yeah, you bet. I love Stacy. Love to honor her.
Yeah. So with that being said, we will plan a podcast around my older sister, Stacy. I just want to do that. Another one came from Debbie 2005, and she says, what do y'all think about the LDS Doomsday family who took the mom's 16-year-old son with the dad and all that? And Rex had mentioned that before. We're like, yeah, there's definitely similarities. And Rex mentioned what a silver lining it is that everything turned out okay with that, and it got the attention it needed to be okay. And thank you for sending us that comment about that as well. Another comment that came in from Robert said, I watched a program on Court TV today, Victim to Verdict. They played a clip where Lori said her brother, which is not Alex, was trying to kill her. That would mean Adam, ? Did either of you see this? Well, I don't watch a lot of Court TV, so I did not watch that, but I do know that we've talked about this before, and I will address it again. Back when Lori was telling things, telling my parents, telling her friends, telling, whoever would listen to her, Lori would blame other people for things that she was doing. So she was blaming Chad, or she was blaming Charles for having an affair, when literally she was having an affair with Chad. Then her and Alex, in my opinion, planned out to kill Charles, where she was blaming me and Brandon and who else, Charles, for trying to kill her. And so anything that Lori said was what she actually was doing. If she blamed somebody for something, it was literally something that she actually was doing. So I didn't see it on TV, but that's the gist of, Lori's Lies, which is part of the name of our book. Lori's Lies. There's so many lies that she told, and a lot of things she didn't say at all to anybody about anything, which kept her aloof from people. So I wanted to address that. I wanted to address Bonnie, who says, you guys are awesome. I'm really concerned about the influence that those affiliated with Julie Rowe and Chad Daybell group, because she goes to a church and that everybody is bashing people who follow Jesus and that are Christian or LDS or whatever. Like Rex and I, we're speculating on groups of people that may be associated with Chad. And I know Julie Rowe has now separated herself from Chad. And at one point, they were all had the same mind and things and theories. And I'm sure there were several people who were buying into it. But I think now, I don't know how many people still buy into what they were preaching. So I'm not sure. What about you, Rex?
And that's literal. We don't know how many people were involved at the time. How many people may still be out there? We just don't know. I have mentioned that we are going to do a certain amount of looking into that. Adam and I are not trying to be true crime people, but we are going to collaborate with Lauren and John in Hidden True Crime. We've been talking about, we've done some collaboration already, and we'll continue on as far as Alex is concerned. And there may be some keys to that to find out if more people were involved in the deaths of Tylee and JJ. So we're interested in finding that out, but Adam and I won't be doing the detective work. Those of you that are dedicated true crime people and that follow those channels, you know what I'm talking about. There are people extremely dedicated to doing some incredible sleuthing to get to the bottom of things. And we want to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And I don't, and like Rex said, I don't know if we're ever going to know how many people followed Chad or followed Julie, or if you still follow Julie Rowe, or if you still follow Chad. I don't know how that would work. He's in jail. Lori's in jail. I don't know if that group had a vice president that's continuing we just don't know any of that. But I think I've always said this on this podcast, Rex, anything is possible with what I've learned about this case.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule anything out. I would like, on a related topic, to respond to an email we got at the Rex and Adam email. By the way, that's REXANDADAM, Rex and Adam at gmail.com. And they asked about Alex. They said, I'm going to pull it up while we're talking, but they asked us what our opinion was, and we had said this in a response, but we don't mind repeating it. If Alex had stayed alive, do you think he would have taken the fall for them? Adam and I are both of the opinion that just knowing Alex the way we did and how things worked and what he reportedly said just shortly before he died or was killed, we think if Alex had stayed alive, we would know everything. We think Alex would have said, okay, yeah, this is BS now. Here's what happened. And he'd be in jail. And the same person asked a follow-on question of, are you glad that Alex, something to the effect, are you glad that Alex didn't have to go through the judicial process? No, I wish he had stayed alive so we would know everything. And I wish he would have got drugged through and gotten every ounce of just... Remember, Adam and I both love Alex. This isn't because we don't love him. It's because what he did was evil, everyone associated, including Alex. These are all people we love. Well, we didn't know Chad, but Lori, Alex, anyone associated should get as much justice as they can in this life, and in the next life, that's up to other people.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said, not only would we know everything, Alex would even start from the beginning. If him and Lori had anything to do with killing Joe, if that was a thing, we would know that. We would know the plan when Charles showed up. We would know, like when you say no, Alex would have told us everything. So just know that, to answer that question, we talked about this on another podcast. Right. Another thing, people ask me all the time, how are your parents doing? And they say it like this: how are your parents doing? Because everybody knows that what they've been through has, they're your children that have done this. So my mom gets a lot of bad, comments and grief and a lot of things like that. So I wanted to read one that was a good one that happened on our, somebody who read something on our podcast or has left a comment. She says, I don't know about anyone else, but I fell in love with Janice and her candid, honest, and humorous interviews. I cried when she cried about Tylee. So my mom got on that, I guess it was the Netflix. Colby asked my mom to do a Netflix docuseries, whatever that came out on Netflix, whatever that's called. I don't even know what it's called, but my mom was on there. Colby asked her to do it. She did it, and she told, all the things that she said. Apparently this person watched it and, liked my mom and liked, the things that my mom said. You don't really hear that very often with our podcast and our comments or other people's podcasts and comments. Everything's been really negative, but I got to tell you, my mom, obviously she made huge mistakes. And she realizes it, and she's, trying to, do the best that she can under her circumstances. And I've told this 100 times, and Rex and I agree. I don't know how you even get out of bed every day. So with all the things that have happened, how are your parents doing? The question is, they are doing great for what they've been through. So that's my answer to that. Let's see. And I think that was it, Rex. I think that's all I had for my comments. Is there anything else that you had?
No, just looking forward to the live. We'll address comments from this podcast, any other comments that come up. So we really enjoy the live sessions and being able to address your comments.
Yeah. And I do like it. I do like in lives that people can ask any questions, and we can go off topic on lives, which is fine, because that's what lives are. You can ask any question you want.
Also, we won't necessarily try to answer all questions, and we can't answer all the questions, but we are grateful to have a moderator, Anna, and we'll probably ask for more moderators too. So those of you that volunteered, we still have your names. We will do that as we develop. And maybe now that the book is finished and we don't have that looming deadline, maybe we can dedicate some time to these other things.
Okay, so since we've been doing this podcast, I'm on Facebook, Tylee and JJ Silver Linings Podcast Community. It was at 364 when we started. 363 when we started. Now we're at 364. Somebody else joined while we're doing our podcast, Rex. This is incredible.
Right. If we did 1,000 more podcasts, we'd have a pretty big group at that rate.
No doubt. So, join our Facebook group. Continue to watch our podcast. You can tell your friends about it. Like I said before, this is a podcast for everybody to feel welcome. And you can make whatever comments you want. Rex and I will try the best that we can to, answer questions, help, talk to people. And there's our book, Rex. Our book is out. How did this even come about? How did this even work? Thank you, Jane.
Yeah. Much thanks to Jane. Well, we won't stop singing her praises. She's been tremendous for us, and it would not have happened anything like this had she and her team, had they not helped us.
Yeah, they did fantastic. So once again, you can order your book if you feel like you want more of the insight that we haven't given you on the podcast, that you get in the book. And so yeah, I think that's good. It's only $15.99. That's less than $16.
Very good. All right. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you on the live on Saturday.
Yeah.